Welcome back to another Shaw Consulting Coffee Break podcast, where we look into the world of technology and social housing. Today we're asking a vital question for many in the social housing sector. Is an ERP system worth the risk in social housing, especially when compared to standard housing packages? Joining us is Shaw Consulting's Managing Director, Chris Shaw, an expert in housing technology. Great to have you with us, Chris. Could you start by, first of all, explaining what an ERP system is and how it differs from standard housing packages?
Yeah, hi, Steve. So an ERP system stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It's a software suite that helps businesses manage all of their core activities in one place. The main ones used, in housing that we find are Microsoft Dynamics or Salesforce. And both these ERP solutions provide the same functional capabilities of what you might find in a packaged housing management system. However, they're a platform which needs to be built to deliver the housing specific processes, which are already built in a packaged housing solution.
Okay, so what are the potential benefits of implementing an ERP system then in the sector?
Okay, so there's been quite a number of housing providers, mostly the larger ones, that have gone down the route of implementing an ERP solution. And they've set off with a desire of trying to consolidate, many of the separate systems that they've used across their business, whether that's looking to, manage all their customer interactions in one place, use that platform, which would streamline the processing of those interactions. So, being able to create cases and then build your own workflow processes and make sure that those workflow processes, go across all the different service areas within the business. Many of the housing management systems still restrict how much you can change within their own system, because it is a packaged solution at the end of the day. So, they don't want to open up the back door to, where you can change the code and things like this, or they might put certain restrictions around what you can and can't change. Whereas in an ERP platform, it's a bit more open and you've got more pieces of the puzzle to play with, shall we say. So the ERP, it would allow you to customize the layout of the screens, and you'd be able to create new screens. You'd be able to make and build as many workflow processes as you would want to do, create as many forms, which can either be used internally or on the digital self-service channel, which, again, is a component of these ERP solutions. And, make sure that all that data that you're capturing in this one system is then displayed on dashboards and reports that are either part of the system or, it might be, a dashboarding solution like Power BI you plug it into. So I guess in summary, organizations may look to adopt an ERP solution, going in with a view of buying into a system that's more agile to use in meeting their ever-changing needs of the business. And over the last number of years, many of the resellers of ERP solutions have invested time in developing some housing specific capabilities, which, you can implement as point solutions. So, these point solutions could be, like a pre-packaged complaints process or the management of your rent and that rent engine for doing all the calculations. Or it could be, some things around compliance. Now, some of these resellers, they may impose the same level of constraint around those packaged components that you can plug into the ERP solutions as, the housing systems that are packaged, i.e., you can't change them. But others, we are aware that some of the providers who have built these components are a bit more open.
Okay, so what do you see as the risks and challenges that social housing organizations might face when adopting an ERP system?
Yeah, I think the biggest risks with being borne out is that housing providers really underestimate how much time it's going to take to put an ERP solution in. You need to have significant internal resource dedicated to the project, both from a business side and the IT side during the implementation. And once you've installed it, you've then got to continually improve it because you don't have the packaged provider, creating the roadmap and continually developing the solution. It's down to you to do. So that's a risk. Once the organizations have gone through the process of getting their internal staff trained on being able to customize and build these new processes in the ERP solution. You run the risk of, and we've seen it happen, that staff leave for salaries which, double, triple the cost in private sector. And, we've seen some of them even go to the ERP solution resellers who have actually sold you the system in the first place. That then can leave you with a system that you bought into this vision of having a solution that's very agile and you can adapt and change it as you want to do. But then the people that built it, that were part of your organization, may no longer be there. And then you're left with a solution that's more expensive to maintain, because then you're relying on external consultants to change it for you.
Okay, so definitely something for organizations to consider there then. Final question. How does an ERP system compare to a standard housing package in terms of cost effectiveness and long-term value for money?
There's a couple of elements with this. So you've got to pay a license fee to use the ERP solution, and that license fee is anything between £50 to £125 per month per user. So let's say you're a housing organisation that's got 500 staff that need to use the system. At the lowest price bracket of £50 a license per month, that's £300,000 a year in software license costs alone. If it's the higher figure, it's 750,000. And that's before you've done any work around customizing or building it to be the housing solution that you want it to be. So, the cost of implementing these solutions, we would say, is 5, 6 times more expensive from a professional services point of view from the external consultant themselves. You've then got the higher cost of licensing. And as a direct comparison, we think that, they're much more expensive when you just look at it, the raw numbers of the cost of licensing and the amount of time it takes to install and the amount of resource that you need to dedicate to it. If you go all in and you're able to consolidate all your systems on an ERP platform, and, you've really streamlined your operations, and as a result of doing that, you've reduced your headcount within your organization, then you might get some economies of scale, and you potentially say the investment in this solution has paid off for me, because I've taken 10, 20 resources out of my business, which has saved me 300, 600,000 pounds a year, maybe. But most of the time, we don't see that reduction in headcount happening, because organizations are already running at full resource capacity, shall we say, and any capacity gained by efficiencies delivered by these systems are consumed elsewhere, and the headcount don't get reduced.
Chris, lots for our listeners to think about there. Thanks, as usual, for sharing your insights, and particularly today for talking about ERP systems in social housing. To our listeners, we hope that you found this episode has helped you to understand a little bit more about ERP systems and their role in the social housing sector. Please keep an eye on our social media for more discussions coming up on technology and its impact across social housing. Thanks for listening to the Shaw Consulting Coffee Break podcast.